Okay, so let's continue. So let's start off with the arcs. Okay, and I'm going to make some additions, and yeah, talk about a few things. Okay, so the first one in arcs I want to talk about is agility. Okay, that being agile in that way, being quick, and yeah, having that swiftness in that agility, and yeah, being agile in movements and in a certain energetic movements sort of way. So that's yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about, agility. Okay, so the next in the arcs is health glow. So when we are when we're feeling healthy, when we're feeling good, there is that glow that comes up, that makes us yeah, that is that health glow. Okay, so the next is dexterity, and again this is in swift movements and in speed and rapidness, and again kind of goes with agility and being agile, being having that dexterity, so in being great in those movements, and yeah, having, again, kind of going with physical fitness and being sharp in your movements. Okay, so the next is um, elegant and strong physical frame. So, and you can think of this in terms of um, tall, slim, fit, and athletic. And if it's a woman, also curvaceous in that sense. So there are these ways you can think of them. So yeah, tall, slim, fit, athletic, curvaceous. You can imagine, you can get these things together and imagine them in a strong and solid physical frame. In that there is that elegance in the frame and the movements. Okay, so yeah, that is one of the things I wanted to talk about with the arcs. And okay, so the next is awakeness or alertness or sharpness or awareness. Okay, so this has to do with, you can kind of think of this in terms of that mental sharpness, that awareness. Okay, and you can think of this as being kind of um, sharp and alert mentally, and that having that awareness. So again, it's a great kind of, in a sense, you can think of this as mental fitness and mental um, dexterity in a way, I guess you could say it that way. So yeah, an interesting way of imagining mental state, feeling good in that way. Okay, so the next is, and this is kind of goes with the rest, this is swiftness. Again, I've already said many things about this. So the next is alacrity, okay, and having that enthusiasm and eagerness, and yeah, looking forward to, yeah, certain things and having that energy and enthusiasm. Okay, so the next is realization. Again, this is an interesting one. I think a lot can be said about the concept of realization, to truly understand things, to truly realize certain things. And it's like it builds in you, and it expands in you, the concept of realization. I think it's a very interesting concept, to realize things, in contrast to like to know things. It's one thing to know things, it's another thing to realize something. Okay, so interesting. So the next is visual light and color energy. Okay, so this is an interesting concept. I think there is a certain energetic way that lights and colors, in certain ways, in certain interesting harmonies, they have a very specific energizing type of something to it. Okay, so there are various ways in which visuals can have that light and color energy, in which these things can energize these concepts and certain yeah, and there's an energetic way in which you can visually perceive them, okay, and they speak to you with energy, visual energy, okay. So I think that's an interesting concept. Okay, so the next, after that, going a bit different, this is remembrance, remembering certain events, remembering certain places in certain ways. Maybe you were there with someone, you did something, and you have a certain remembrance of that place at that time in that way with that person, and you remember it in a certain way, maybe at a certain time of the day. Maybe, yeah, maybe it was day, maybe it was night, maybe there was something going on, maybe you were, yeah, for there for a certain, I don't know, for a certain reason, or with someone, or with, with a bunch of people, or with one person, or maybe you were alone. So, and you can imagine certain of these events and places, and you can, maybe they hold some special meaning to you. So in that sense, and in many other ways, this can be perceived, the concept of remembrance, to remember things, to remember great events, and to hold them as memories. It's really amazing. Okay, so the next is kind of related to this. This is fondness, okay? To, again, kind of goes with what I just said, to fondly remember certain things and certain events or certain experiences with some people, or some in some place. Maybe some particular thing that you really liked, or something like that. Maybe you had a certain interaction with someone. Maybe this was kind of course, romantic. This could be perceived in a romantic sense, and in a maybe a sexual sense. So yeah, I think you can fondly remember certain events and certain people and certain experiences, okay, and you hold them very close, and cherish them and treasure them, okay. So yeah, and that is for fondness. Okay, so beautiful feeling. Okay, so the next after this, again, this is going a bit different. So this is the concept of initiative, to take initiative, and to yeah, a kind of self-explanatory, can be thought of in so many different ways in terms of creating amazing things. Yeah, so great. The next concept after this is exhilaration. Again, kind of heightened sense of maybe something that makes you, or again, this can be perceived in so many different ways. Maybe you are with someone, and just being with that person, maybe you are romantically interested in this person, and just being with them can be an exhilarating experience. So it can be pretty amazing. Also can be thought of in many different ways. Maybe you were really excited about something, or looking forward to something, and when you do it, you feel that exhilaration, okay? And many other ways of thinking about this, okay? So the next is fascination, okay? Again, kind of, this kind of goes with many of the things that I just said, to be fascinated with something or someone, or in any other way you might want to perceive it. Okay, so the next is, in a good way, you can think of as craze, to be crazy about someone, to be crazy about something. Obviously, I mean this in a good way. Yeah. Actually, I wasn't sure if I should, whatever. I mean that in a good way, okay? Okay, so the next is desire to know, to have that desire to know certain things, maybe certain things that interest you, and you are driven to know about these things, about these subjects or topics or whatever it is. Okay, so yeah, that is desire to know. Okay, the next is the concept of symmetry, okay, and you can kind of think of this in an obvious geometrical way. You can think of this again in an interesting, maybe in an innovative or unconventional sort of way, to imagine the concept of symmetry. In what ways and which kind of concepts can this be applied? Okay, the concept of symmetry. Maybe I'll talk more about it at some other point. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention this, okay? So that is symmetry. Okay, So the next is, and I'm not too sure about this one, but I think I'll mention it anyway. This is fluidity, okay? To be able to, whatever it is, the way you see, the way things, um, to hold your own ideals, but to also navigate fluidly, okay? So again, this is just something I'm not too sure about this, just quickly wanted to mention, okay? Um, yeah, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, whatever. Okay, so the next is polish or ease or sharpness. Again, you can think of this in movements, you can think of this in the way you carry yourself, you can think of this in communication, you can think of this in so many different ways. So yeah, so this is for the arcs. So let's get into the motifs. Okay, so the first one is, the first motif is aqua pool. Okay, that's one word. So again, imagine an aqua pool, imagine the concept of the activity of swimming, and you can imagine this in a beautiful visual way. An aqua pool, imagine the blue color, that beautiful blue color, and that cold, that sensation of water. And yeah, you can think of it in that way. And yeah, imagine the surroundings, imagine the, maybe you can think of the architecture or the landscape surrounding this aqua pool, or maybe this is a part of something larger. So you can imagine it in that way. Okay, you can imagine this in various contexts. Okay, so that is aqua pool. The next is terraces, okay? And you can imagine this in many different scales. You can imagine this in terms of a structure with, or you can imagine this in a structure with terraces, or you can imagine this in in a way of vast expanses and vast lands with various terraces and levels. And you can imagine this in terms of, there's maybe a beautiful luscious green grass on it, and you can imagine this in beautiful morning sunlight. It's bright but it's mild, and you see all these terraces. I think it creates a beautiful kind of um, landscape. You can think of this it in that way. Okay, so those are the motifs for now. um, let's get into one thing that I want to clarify. So these are some of the spellings. I think I should have clarified them before, but whatever, I'll just clarify quickly them now. Okay. So with previously in the Pantheon, when I talked about the god and goddess Chromo and Chroma, I'll just clarify their spellings. So Chromo is Kromo and Chroma is Chroma. Okay. And with the other spellings, there is night vision, color vision, and so on. So with them, the spellings are Nightvison. That is just one word. Again, Colourvision. Again, that is one word. Okay, so it's just together. So the next is in, when I talked about in the aeroplanes and VTOLs and so on. So with that, there is Sky Commander. Again, that is one word. Sky Fortress. Again, one word. And tessellator, this is spelled as Tesselator, okay, OR. So just quickly wanted to clarify the spellings, okay. So the next list, again, there, this is just, I just want to make quickly a mention of this, okay. So this would be the list of flora and fauna. Now I'm not too sure about this, but I'll talk about certain interesting plants and animals, and in maybe certain interesting qualities about them and how they can relate to humans. Okay, so maybe I'll talk about those afterwards. So the next list after that, again, this is the list of poses. Okay, and you can imagine various stances and various ways, various poses in which different human forms can be imagined. Okay, and I'll talk about this afterwards. I want to quickly make a mention of this. Okay. Huh. Okay, so the next list after this is the list of locations, and I just want to quickly add. Um, no, I think I've talked about them enough. Maybe I'm not too sure about these. Okay, so I think those are it for now. I think I've talked about plenty of things here, and yeah, so that is kind of it for this video. Let me know what you think. Maybe some of these things you can imagine them in maybe some of them sparked your imagination in some way and you found them interesting or something. Okay, I don't know. So yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll add more additions to this as yeah, as I'll come up with more stuff and add more things to this. So in the in the next videos. So yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know what you thought of these things, and yeah, that's it for this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.